everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of my creative diary. In this one, I'll be sharing bits and pieces of what I've been up to over the past couple of weeks, including an update on the craft room renovation, a look at some recent sketchbook pages, a walk in the countryside, and my first attempts at knitting. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with an update on the craft room. So some of you may recall that back in the autumn of last year, while I was in Suffolk, Dominic surprised me by completely clearing this room, redecorating it, and even sanding and varnishing the floorboards. It looked amazing, but there was still quite a lot to do, and I've been meaning to do it over the winter. However, other things have taken over. Once again, it has become a bit of a dumping ground. And so this week I had to clear the room again completely so that I could sand and paint the woodwork. So there's quite a lot to do in this room to get it ready to be turned into my little craft sanctuary. So I'm excited to give you further updates later on in this video. But in the meantime, we're going to go for a little walk in the countryside. I thought I'd film some of our walk and take you along with us because it was just such a beautiful spring day and it was lovely to be out in nature. There were also sheep grazing amongst the vines because this is a vineyard and you walk kind of from the vineyard up the hill. This is Ranmore Hill in Surrey for those of you who know Surrey. I'd never seen the sheep grazing like this before, so I had to film them because they were just such characters. They looked so cute. But it was just such an enjoyable walk, and when I'm on walks like this, I realise just how important it is for me to get out in nature. This is something that I promised myself I'd do more this year. When we were in the woods, I realised just how much birdsong there was, and I wanted to share that with you. There's a recording coming up. Take a moment, relax, and listen to the birdsong for a couple of minutes. Another thing I thought would be fun to share in this video is a little peek inside my sketchbooks. So we're going to start with this one. This is the Etcher Cold Press Watercolour Sketchbook. I really love working in this, and I found myself using it quite a bit for Patreon Zoom sessions. So this is a spread from one of those Zoom sessions that I did with my Patreon members back in December, where we painted objects in my studio. And this page is from my 20 favourite watercolours video that I recorded for YouTube a few months ago. This one is another Zoom session I did with my Patreon members. This was in March of this year and it was called Signs of Spring. And we work on drawings that were like 5 or 10 minutes long, so fairly quick, and I'm not used to working quickly, but I really quite enjoyed this spread. This one is from a recent video where I was testing Jackman gouache for the first time, and so you can find that video here on YouTube as well. And finally for this one, I'm going to share this Spring Trees spread, which was one of Crix's Zoom sessions recently. That was really fun to do. The next sketchbook we're going to be having a look at a couple of spreads in is the Royal Talens Art Creation sketchbook. These are great if you want an inexpensive sketchbook that's still really nice quality. So this one is actually from a recent Patreon and YouTube channel memberships video. I did an hour in my sketchbook where I worked on this sketchbook spread, layering materials and sharing how I use the Derwent drawing pencils, and I went into quite a lot of detail in that video. And then I made one for YouTube so that it was publicly available, and it was a much quicker video, but I was doing pretty much the same thing, and this is the spread from that video. So if you haven't watched that one, that's available on my channel. But it's quite nice to have a little peek inside the sketchbooks. Back in the craft room, we'll have another little update here. So you can see at this point I had cleared the room. This was kind of over the Easter weekend, and I started by sanding the skirting boards because they needed a lot of TLC. I also did the side of the cupboard as well. I thought the cupboard seemed daunting to me to paint the entire thing, so I started with the side of it. But you can see here that at one point it was painted in a very dark raspberry coloured paint, and we noticed this about the skirting boards as well. So I feel like this room would have been really bold at one point, and it's funny to think that now I'm making it all white. I was actually going to have a colour on the walls at one point, but I decided to make everything white, and then I'm going to add the colour and texture and pattern with everything that I'm putting into the room afterwards. But yeah, you can see those skirting boards are in a bad way. This is the view out of my craft room window. The last time you will have seen this, it was in the autumn, so it looked very autumnal. Well, this is how it looks in early spring. I have a lovely view of all of these different trees and also the hill beyond, which for some reason is much more obvious when you're looking in reality compared to how the camera kind of picks it up. But you can see that that window is in quite a bad way, so I'm going to have to give that a lot of love and attention too, I think. There's quite a lot I need to do there. So all of this is taking quite a lot of time. One thing that was really sweet that Dominic did for me this past week was he decided that my view should be even better than it was, and that he was going to clear all of the brambles that were in front of this wooded area. This is part of our garden. Now when I look out of this room, I get a view into the wood where there are currently bluebells coming up, and it is just so incredibly beautiful. So that was really sweet of him to make this already amazing view even better. But I love being up in the treetops in this room. And I think I'll share a few more shots with you so you can get a real feel of what it's like to be up here. One piece of furniture I've been painting for the craft room is this table. So I bought this probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and I think it cost around £50. It was bought locally from someone in Reigate, and it's a really nice table. I love the shape of it and the colour of it, but unfortunately the top was a little bit damaged. So I decided to sand that down, and I'm going to be painting the top and leaving the rest of it this lovely dark brown wood. So the paint I'm using is this one, and I got this from Malsford Mill in Suffolk. It's a lovely stone colour. I think it's going to look nice. What I'm going to do is give it a few coats and then distress it and wax it. And I'm thinking I might do a little bit of decorative painting on it too. So we'll see what I do with this table in the next episode. But at this point it had one coat, and you can see the rings on the tabletop are still coming through and it looks very patchy. But after a few coats, it's starting to look very nice. And I'm not worried about a little bit of unevenness because I want it to look quite old. So I'm going to give you a further update on this at some point in the future. And in this corner of the room, at this point, I'd painted 2 coats of paint on those skirting boards. So you can see how much better they look already. But yeah, I'll show you a bit more later on in the video. In the section of the video we're calling Recent Acquisitions, I wanted to share this beautifully wrapped package from John Arbon Textiles with you. So this is my first time placing an order with them, and when I was checking out their website for other reasons, I actually got sucked in to the beautiful hand-dyed yarns. So I ordered a few for my stash. Now that I'm getting into knitting, I thought that I should have some lovely variegated yarn. So I ordered this one from Third Vault Yarns. The colours are just amazing. This is why I had to turn these, because you can't see all of the colours at the same time. They just have so many different variations in them. I also ordered these from Nervous Fibre. I ordered 2 of these because I actually think I'm going to keep these for a larger project. These little project bags cost just £3 each, and so I got a couple of them because I always need project bags, whether that's for stitching projects and now knitting, or even just to store yarns in. And I also got a couple of copies of their older annuals. Now these are a magazine that John Arbon Textiles produces, and it has information about the different yarns, a bit about the mill itself, and quite a few different knitting patterns. So I look forward to finding the time just to sit down and have a really good look through these. Something else I've bought recently were these tiny skeins of lace weight yarn. So they're very fine, and I'm actually thinking about using them for embroidery rather than knitting. And these are actually made by John Arbon Textiles, but I got them from Beyond Measure. I just completely fell in love with the colours of these. They were so natural and also quite variegated. There are lots of different colours within each one. So I look forward to using those in a future project. Something else I've been doing that I've wanted to do for a long time but have been too scared to try is to learn knitting, and I'm very excited to be able to share my first little attempts at knitting. So you have to bear in mind I am a beginner, and I know that there are probably lots of experienced knitters out there who can see a million things that I've done wrong with this swatch here. But this was just me practicing garter stitch and stockinette and kind of switching between the two. This week I've taught myself how to cast on, do garter stitch, do stockinette, and how to cast off. Now the next thing I want to do is actually to try and make my edges neater. So if any of you have any tips for that, then please leave them in the comment section below, because I've been looking at lots of YouTube videos and I still feel like I'm learning so much. I'm still at the very beginning. So I tried 3 different yarns. I've tried different sizes of needles, and it's been fun just kind of figuring out how to do it and how things look, and just trying to perfect my technique really. So these are my 3 little swatches, and yes, that ginger coloured yarn is actually the special yarn that I bought from John Arbon. So it was really interesting to knit with that. It felt different actually to the other ones The other one's a merino, I think. Anyway, I made a yarn ball. I taught myself via a YouTube video how to hand wind the yarn from the skein into the yarn ball. I think they're sometimes called a yarn cake. And I'm really pleased with how it went. So yeah, those are my little knitting adventures for this week. Again, I will keep you updated with my progress with the knitting, and I hope to have something else to show you next time. So at the time of editing this video, here's where we're at with the craft room. I haven't done anything else to the table yet because I'm trying to decide which design I want to decorate it with, if anything. So I'm going to kind of figure that out over the next week and work on that. But I have gone around the entire room twice on the skirting boards. So they've been sanded, they've had 2 coats of paint, and it seems to have covered really well. You can really see how different they look compared to the parts that I haven't painted yet, such as the door frame. And there's the big cupboard that I've got to tackle as well, and we're going to add some extra shelves to that. So yeah, I'll keep you up to date on all of this. I'm going to film it as I go along. And yes, the side of the cupboard has had 2 coats of paint as well, so that's finished too. So it's starting to come along. It's surprising how long it takes, but I'm going to bring you along for the ride. Anyway, that's it for this episode of my creative diary. I'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks' time. If you enjoyed this video, please could you give it a like? And if you hype it, that will help it to be seen by a wider audience, which would be brilliant. If you have anything you'd like to ask me about, or anything you'd like to say, or even just some encouragement for this style of video, please leave a comment down below. And perhaps consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful creative couple of weeks, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye for now.